I'm afraid everybody might see that. And we are live. Hopefully, you'll be able to hear myself. And Jan.
Hopefully, you'll be able to hear me. Hello, everybody. Hello, Randa. Hello, Oren. Let's see how the volumes are.
Yes. Hopefully, I've got everything right today. And everything's bouncing, which is good.
Can everyone hear both of us, first off?
Yeah, that is very important. Hello, Roderick.
Yes. Hello, Roderick.
Good evening. So we've got lots of good news coming up. We've also come up. We've been discussing over the last couple of days different ways to make the live streams a bit more changing, but also have a regular schedule that we go around. What words?
Have the live streams a bit more changing. Michael.
It's been a long day and I haven't drunk any of this coffee yet. By the end of the stream, I will be perfectly illegible.
Yep.
Not unintelligible.
We had a really good meeting on Friday. Michael came and picked me up, so I didn't have to cycle to his house, which was good because I'm not in the same shape I think I am. Circle. And we were talking about like what we're going to be doing next, what our timetable is, and we went onto the streams, and we really like doing these streams. But it occurred to us that if our streams are always this kind of conversation, well, I insist on calling it a Toucan talk, even though Michael doesn't want me to. We're missing a beat here. So the plan is,
and an opportunity, of course.
We're missing a chance to beat opportunities. So the plan is to alternate between types of stream. So once a month, we'll be doing one of these. This is where we talk about what we're doing, what we're thinking, what we're planning, what we've been working on, what we've been playing, how we're feeling, how everyone is, and things like that. Hello, Gerard. And then we go on to the next kind. Mikey, what's the next kind?
The next kind will either be a Godot or a Blender specific live stream, where we'll actually be doing different things that we've discovered, or just suggestions from audience members and questions.
We're just working on something live while we talk about it.
Yeah.
So next week will be a Godot one because Mikey's deep in recording. So whatever I'm working on at the time, I'll probably just have that on, discuss it, code live, make mistakes, bug hunt, things like that.
And that's one of the fun things. Certainly, I'm going to approach with when it comes to Blender, is actually do a sort of like, this is going to contain mistakes. This is a real live journey, and I've got a couple of ideas that I want to just check are possible first. Some to do with geometry nodes in Blender and procedural generation. I've already got some ideas of how to approach that. However, I think doing it live will really be fun to watch, if not to do.
Or it might be like live tips or, troubleshooting or whatever it might be. Like there's all kinds of stuff we can do. So we'll do a Godot one next week, and then we'll do a Blender one the week after. And then on the fourth of these iterations, I was going to say fourth week of the month, but some months have 5 Mondays in them. So maybe not. We'll play a game, and we'll do a design analysis while playing the game.
Yes, so we'll be focusing on like the core. What's the core game mechanic here? Does it have several? Is it a very simple game? But we can also tear it apart in terms of its aesthetics, some of the choices they've made, maybe to speed up the game,
player
its production
and stuff. And there's all kinds of stuff we can play there. So a game that we like to stream every now and again is Human Fall Flat. That's always fun. Mikey and I like to play Stick Fight occasionally. Or Speedrunner. We haven't played that in a couple of years, but there's also a bunch of other games we could play. 1 player, 2 player, multiplayer. Hello, Nathan.
And Gerard. I don't know if... hi, Gerard. I saw you coming.
I did say hi, Gerard. I also said hi, Atomy. There's a bunch of different games we could play. So the idea is to alternate between things. So it's not just what's the company doing. It's here's something useful you might like in Godot or in Blender, or I don't know, maybe we'll get a guest on and they can do their thing. And then actually do some design analysis and playing. So it's not going to be a typical like Twitch or YouTube play live stream. It's not going to be, let me get ones in the chat, smash that like button. Let's get a big W for winning this level. Like, that's not what we're trying to do. What we're trying to do why does this game work? Why doesn't it work? What's the obvious and not so obvious design choices, and how do they fit together?
And can we get an F in the chat for Jan's impression of streamers?
Church of Gamers, please press F.
Wah, wah.
If the chat fills up with Fs, this is all your fault. So yeah, we've been working on that.
Press it.
We have to have a game called Press It. It just flashes a key and you have to press it.
I mean, it's a simple. Maybe that's the first game of the upcoming.
Yeah, we're getting Fs. Thanks, Roderick. Thanks, Jessica. Thanks, Aaron. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. So yeah, we've been doing that. I've been working on a bunch of prototype stuff, including the sprite sheets we talked about last week.
Yeah,
and I've been talking with someone else about talking them through sprite sheets and seeing how they do, and it's been very interesting, and exciting, and stuff. I've also been working on a new prototype. We're not quite sure what it's going to be yet. I mean, we know the game. We don't know what the final product's going to be. Michael's been doing a bunch of recording. So where shall we start, Mr. Bridges?
Well, I'm actually going to be very careful about what I say because I want to make sure I don't make any promises that I can't keep. But what I've been doing in the background is I'm hyper aware that certainly with the Blender content, Jan's obviously strung up with whenever Godot 4 enters beta, but I'm hyper aware of the fact that we don't have a roadmap for the Blender release stuff. Obviously, I'm getting through it at the moment, and what I've got in the background at the moment is an idea of a release schedule. Now, the problem with the idea,
charts and everything.
I know it's pretty amazing. I've gone all blurry, or that's the connection.
Why don't you clean your glasses?
Oh, better. So I'm not going to say any dates at the moment because this is like less than a week old in terms of tracking. So the data is not good at the moment. But after a month or so of running it, I should be able to give people concrete ideas about when courses will be released by, which is going to be absolutely fantastic. I will say one date, and that is the beginning week of June. That's what I'm estimating for the dungeon section of the Godot Action RPG to be done.
Nice.
So we're talking about 1 month from now, that should be done. Now, it may come out sooner, it may be later. That's my prediction at the moment.
That's your target.
And whilst I'm working through this, I'll get a good idea of my velocity, i.e. how quickly I can get through these things. I think the procedural building stuff is going to take a lot longer because it's a far more complex course because we're going to be diving quite deep into procedural generation to assemble all the building parts. So that really does need to be taken a lot slower and methodically than the modular dungeons will be.
I know that people backed us at the Kickstarter and some of them paid for the asset packs, which are still coming.
Yeah.
And you may have noticed the modular assets course is already out for the weapons. The modular weapons course is out, not the modular armor stuff, but the modular weapon stuff. So where's the asset pack? Started putting it together and I realized Godot 4 is still very much in flux. It's probably not a good time to release this stuff yet. So I'm waiting for it to be a little more stable before I make the Godot version of those assets, but we have been playing with them.
There is
Hello, Merlin.
There is, of course, the real thing that we could release the non-Godot assets sooner for people. That's another possibility. Yep. And then we just create a new version of the asset pack and with the TSCNs in there as well. No, you go.
You're not finished, so I was going to slightly change topic.
Okay, so yeah, on that, what we've also discovered, and to Jan's detriment when he was actually working on the RPG, is he loaded, I think it was between Alpha 4 and 6, something like that. All of the assets needed to be remade within the game itself. Yep. So that's one of the reasons why we've held back pushing forward with that, because otherwise...
Because Godot 4 is an alpha, and they tell you, like, this may break your game.
And it does. It really does.
And it does. And we're expecting that. Like, it's fine. Another thing we discussed on Friday, and we still not reached a decision, but I'm exploring it, is the idea of merch. Now, merch wouldn't be a big moneymaker for us, but it's a way that there are plenty of people who really enjoy the Toucan branding and all the rest of it. And if you don't, that's fine. You don't have to use it. But if you want to, like, we're looking at, could we do T-shirts? Could we do mugs? Could we do mouse mats? And I've been looking at a couple of companies that do print and ship on demand. So we don't have to order like 6,000 Toucan mouse mats and then go to the post office and mail them, because neither of us are that organized and have that kind of time.
Also, that's a huge capital investment that we would plan.
And my house is really small. Like, you don't understand how tiny my house is. I don't have space for that.
I'll add to
actually,
that.
Yes, we have been talking about Canopy plushies. That one's a little tricky because we haven't yet found a click and it'll just make and ship on demand for plushies. All the ones we've found, and there are some ones that are pretty decent, we'll make you 5,000 or 50,000 and ship them to you. And I don't have space for 50,000 plushies.
No, not at all. The other thing about that is there are lots.
Yeah, and my pillowcases. I would actually say body pillows.
So you too can snuggle up with
house tour when you don't want to see my house.
I
don't have a front door, and by that I don't mean it's missing. I mean there is no front door. I go through the gardens, this row of houses, and into my house.
British houses can be really weird. Now,
yeah.
Since I finally got the office done back in August, what I haven't done is actually sorted out the rest of the house from all the crap that had come out of here. And so, no house tour. In fact, there's a video on my YouTube channel where that's the only house tour you're ever going to get for the time being of me running around rendering on multiple machines. And I specifically, when I'm holding up the phone, whenever I'm running around, I'm making sure there's always a... I don't know what you call it, a blur going that way because I'm constantly moving in circles around the house. There's a good reason for that.
Yep. So yeah, the idea of merch is in there. People have talked about it. It's kind of fun. The issue with this is there's a few issues with this. We're trying to find a way of pricing this in a way that's fair, because usually what will happen is they'll charge you for the print. And if you want to print on like a black t-shirt, it's more expensive because they need to use white ink and all the rest of it. So they've got a markup, and then we can charge a little bit over that. And I don't think we're looking to make this like a big money spinner, but it's like a few extra bucks for us, but you get to have a t-shirt or a mouse mat or a mug or whatever else we do. There are pillows on things like Cafe Press.
Yeah.
So we could actually do a Jan and Mikey one. I do want to play a little bit with making some images with the new sprites and so on. Yeah. I did do a practice mug on one site with the wallpaper we use in our courses, which is the emblem, and then awesome tutorials for awesome people on a mug, and it looks great. Like black on the inside of the mug, white on the outside, and then that logo there. I change it so you don't have like a black box on a white mug, but yeah.
Oh, that's sweet.
So merch may be coming. I'm investigating. This is not a promise. I'm taking point on that because Mikey at the moment is deep in a production schedule, and I'm mostly waiting on Godot 4. Waiting for Godot. But yeah, that's a thing we've been talking about.
I'm just having a look because we had a little spreadsheet there, didn't we? Do you want to talk about any of the other ideas we had, or do you want to keep that under wraps for the moment?
I can't remember them.
We were talking about coaching. Oh crap, that's the mic.
Maybe. Okay, so Teachable allows us to do something called coaching. I don't know that we do that because that's a sort of one-on-one tuition, and that's really hard to organize around recording content. And it tends to be quite expensive. But we were maybe thinking, and this is, not a promise. This is a view backstage, behind the scenes, I guess, because backstage is a theatrical term, of how our company is thinking, right? This is just so you guys can feel involved. This is not a promise. Maybe doing an online summer camp, right? Where we run a week-long course on like a game design thing or something like that. We have set times where there's a video. We sell a certain amount of tickets. We might need a minimum, I don't know. And we say, you pay X, and it will be bigger than most of our courses. Like, this isn't going to be a cheap thing. And we will do a live, like 2 or 3 hour video, however long it is, with you, talking with you, working through some projects, giving you stuff to work on between videos. And then by the end of the week, you'll have a project you've done. So it's a really sort of intensive thing. It's like a summer camp.
I believe webinar is the correct term that people might be familiar with. That sort of style. A digital classroom. There you go.
Digital seminar. It's a workshop is what it is, right? But it's a long ongoing thing. So a webinar tends to be a one-off thing. The idea is it's more like an online school. Downsides: organization, right? Like getting people across time zones to be available at the same time.
Oh, totally. You can only imagine we've got people in the States. We've got people.
I mean, even the States, like there's 3 time zones there. We've got people.
Oh yeah, that's a very good point.
India, we've got people in.
I know we've got someone in Hong
China.
Kong. Yeah.
Yep.
Australia. So literally all around the world. So it's difficult
that's an issue.
Pin
Another issue is that kind of curriculum is a very different beast than an online curriculum. Right now, we've a lot of practice on online curriculum. I've actually got practice in this kind of curriculum too. But a classroom curriculum means we're going to have to sit down and sort of organize that from scratch and make it quite robust. Because if it's a live thing, then it needs to be able to adapt to what actually happens in the classroom. Otherwise, you may as well just watch a lecture.
Yes.
Hello. I haven't been to Israel since I was 16, but it was very pretty.
It has.
I imagine it's changed a lot since the 90s.
Yes. I mean, it has to be a very interactive thing as well. So we need to be able to adjust accordingly based upon whoever's there.
It's effectively a masterclass if you guys have seen those kind of things, right? We have a small group of people and quite an intensive work thing. It's a really ambitious thing. We're not sure if we're in a stage where we can do that yet because we're still quite a small company. We have 2 full-time instructors and 2 instructors who do work for us when they can. So there's a lot of content that needs to be generated, and sort of taking 3 to 4 weeks off to organize this, never mind run it, is not a small commitment, but it's something we're talking about. So maybe happen next year instead, or further down the line, but it's a thing we're aware of. We don't just want to be doing pre-recorded lectures because while they can be great, it's not the only way people want to learn.
Definitely.
We also talked a little bit about written tutorials. Personally, I prefer video to written tutorials, but some people prefer written tutorials. Fine. So maybe we'll look into that as well.
Well, written tutorials have the benefit of, with a video tutorial, you can always pause it and rewind it slightly. It's a lot easier to just do that when you're reading something because you just stop and reread. So it can be easier, and certain people do learn better from different mediums. But I use a lot of textbooks and references because they're easier to refer to and search for. The difficulty is, and we try our best during a course to make sure that the lecture names are searchable terms. That is really important when you're going through. Oh, I just learned about loop cuts, so let's go type in loop cuts. There it is. It's lecture 23 or whatever. That's something that's a bit more difficult to do when it's in a much longer video that covers many topics.
So there's a lot going on there. I should point out that the educator in me is like, when we say that some people will learn better from different mediums, I want to be very careful and not give credence to the learning styles theory.
Oh, no.
Just so you guys know, from a
personal preference
point of view, learning styles some people are kinesthetic learners, some people are visual learners, has no peer-reviewed evidence backing it up. Like, professional teachers do not back that. Like, it's not a credible theory. It's a pop science thing that sort of snuck in, and a lot of schools are sort of forced to teach around it, but that's not a thing. But that said, it's one of the things we're looking at. Like, we want to make this more accessible. Some people struggle with my accent, right? So it'd be nice to be able to put material down in a way that they can still read it, or they have hearing difficulties, or I'm going too fast, or they just want a reference text or something. What I don't think we should be doing is writing a textbook that's just the lectures as a textbook, because it's a different format, it won't work. But maybe there's some stuff we could do that way.
One of the big issues with written formats as well is making sure they're either kept up to date or they're written in such a way that they are evergreen and worth us doing. I mean, just take, for example, if I had done written content for Blender 2.93 for geometry nodes, and then version 3 comes out and completely blows all of that out of the water. Now, some of it will still be valid, but are you going to buy a book or look at a PDF where half the information is wrong, and because you don't know it's wrong, you just sit there scratching your head for ages?
Yeah.
It can be very challenging keeping written stuff up to date.
It absolutely can. So that's some of the stuff we're talking about. It's very much the planning stage. We're also thinking about different people we can approach for different kinds of tutorials. because we want to sort of expand the instructor pool, I guess is how you'd say it, in different fields. We haven't approached these people yet. I mean, we have spoken to one person who wants to work with us, but he's got a bunch of stuff happening in his real life right now. So I'm not going to drop any names, but we want to sort of expand into maybe different engines, maybe really niche things within an engine, maybe something to do with art as opposed to coding. You know, like we keep being asked to do a pixel art course. It'd be great to speak to somebody who has some visual art experience. So we're aware of that. We want to expand out. But it's, again, we're at the stage in our company where we need to be producing a lot of stuff, and sort of running around and managing these things and making contracts is an investment. It's one we want to make, but it's not a sort of, hey, come over and do the stuff. Don't worry about copyright or contracts. We don't have to have that conversation. Oh, no.
You really do.
You really do. But yeah, that's all stuff we're talking about. Meanwhile, I have been working on a new prototype. Can we talk about my new prototype? Can I show them battle tactics?
Yes. I think you need a little bit more of a gap as well between battle and tactics.
Yes.
You'll find out why in a moment.
I mean, you've probably seen the screenshot. Let me get my screen shared. Entire screen, that one. Okay, so currently the gameplay drives all 4 of these characters, and you can place a bomb and it explodes. So far, so good, right? And yes, if you explode a person, that person vanishes. So far, so good. But
perspective shift.
We've got some fancy lighting going on. We were playing with various lighting techniques we can do. Like if you turn off the, I can actually show it in a second, but let's see if I can. Yeah, yellow, you hold this.
No, boom.
Victory pose. Let me.
Hi, Melicon. How you doing?
Turn you off. So we have a sort of more dramatic look here. In fact, let's turn off the directional light as well. And let's give the characters an omni light. And let's give them a spotlight.
Oh, so they got like a torch.
Yeah.
Nice.
Torch is what we call it in the UK. I believe in the US they call it
banana.
Aluminum. Yeah.
Flashlight.
Exactly.
Which I don't get, because I suppose if you're flashing it, it's a flashlight. But
sure, we'll go with that.
Yeah.
All right. So darkness mode.
Oh, that's a oh cool with the bombs. Yeah. Nice. All right. And the funny shadows are because the torch is above the cube's part of it, isn't it?
Yes. I mean, I can lower the torch. That's fine. I can put it down here.
Foot torch.
There we go.
Now, does anybody recognize the inspiration? And we were talking literally just before the stream about quite a few variations we could make upon this game. Just starting at this point, there are a ton of extra things and places you can go. This really is a Genesis point. Obviously, this is a clone at the moment of a very popular game. Came out in '93, I think. Hey,
so I've also set it so that exactly right. So I've also set it so that the bombs can blow each other up. So if let's do overhead mode. If I put those two bombs next to each other, they will ignite at the same time.
Oh, that was a big bang.
Yeah, I've put it up to 5 blocks. But but yeah, it's a very simple little toon shaded aesthetic. We've got a little outline on the characters. The level is,
I mean,
all kinds of lovely.
uh,
Currently, this is Godot 3.
Credit to you, Jan, because this character is made entirely in Godot, animated entirely in Godot, and that is a great way of showing off the fact that you can make, even if this was just a temporary asset. But but it works, right? That's the point.
Yeah.
It gets the idea across that your character is obviously going to run around the level.
Well,
and
I knew
everything.
that you'd see it moving from a distance, so I wanted something quite exaggerated. Right now, we have stand, we have walk, and we have victory. That's it. I might do a die thing and all the rest of it, but I was just playing with 3D animation. It was actually based off the work I was doing with the sprites.
Yeah.
So it was just playing with that. This wasn't meant to be a project, right? This wasn't meant to be a game, which is why it's not on my repo yet. So I keep having to send Mikey zip files.
So what you could put on with that one there is just make a little, I don't know, a box with maybe a question mark on it and something about a mushroom, and we'll be absolutely fine. That wouldn't be any issues at all.
No. Nintendo are famous for never suing.
Nintendo?
But yeah, because this is 3D, one, you can do all kinds of fun stuff with the lighting. Two, you could do things like victory cam. With the toon shading, that does look a bit like a balloon. There we go. We're not using any shaders right now. It's all grid maps. It's very simple, but I am pretty happy with this so far. And yes, I am using another color palette I found on low spec. So yeah, that's what we have so far. We yet decided what this is. Currently, this is in Godot 3. Me playing around. I'm going to switch off my screen now, Mikey.
And we're back.
So yeah, we have some thoughts. It's all very low. It's a special kind of penguin. Yep. Yeah, it's. How did you make the black outline? Yes, I did a material pass. I looked at shaders. My knowledge of shaders simply isn't good enough. I did find an online shader and then found out it's just making a material pass. But yeah, I'm doing a second material pass. I'm inverting the cull, so you're culling the front, not the back.
Okay.
I'm using the grow parameter, so it's growing by 0.1%, and I'm making that black and unshaded.
I mean, it's a great example of how you can have that effect very quickly. And it is another draw call, of course. You have to bear that in mind.
It is another draw call. There's also the fact that it doesn't look great close up, but we're not close up, so it's fine for now. Yeah, it's looking good. I like the colors. I've put toon shading on most of the stuff and played with the roughness and stuff, so you get a real sort of balloony kind of people with a very. It's not quite plasticky, but it's in there somewhere. It's like modeling clay kind of look.
Yeah, it was interesting playing with it this afternoon. It very much reminded me initially when we were having a look at the characters. I mean, not aesthetically, but it did kind of remind me of Among Us at first, and then we were playing around with the lighting in the scene, trying to work out, how we can change the aesthetic, and we managed to get it completely dark with just outlines. And I said, "Oh, stabby in the dark wasn't me. It's a new name for our game."
Yep. So there's a bunch of different modes we want to play with, like a rain mode where you've got like rain shaders going on and it's dark with black outlines except just around the character, and then every now and again there's a little flash of lightning. There's obstacles we can put in, there's power-ups and power downs. Right now this is just you're controlling 4 dudes, there's some bombs. The bomb was fun to make because Mikey called me on Discord while I was making it, shared my screen, and within like 2 minutes we had a working bomb with a fuse that ticked down. And so thoughts. 1, mini course in Godot 3, because Godot 4's not out yet. It'd be great to do raining bombs, meteor storms is another one we came up with.
Yes.
A mini course in Godot 3, because we don't know when Godot 4 is coming out. It's not stable yet, and people like making these little games. However, that limits the amount of complexity we would be able to do on a course, because a mini course really should be around the sort of 4 to 10 hour mark. Any longer than that, and it takes a lot longer to make. And there's other stuff we need to be working on. 2, a module within the upcoming Godot 4 course, not the action RPG, but the beginner to intermediate advanced course.
I'm going to go buy that domain later so you can start saying it.
You have to, because we still can't use the name in case someone nicks the domain from us. 3, and this is just us playing, right? We are not committed to this idea. It has a whole bunch of downsides. Do not hold us to it. It's Mikey's fault. Okay? We don't make this a course. We make this a game and try and publish it on Steam. Not as a money-making, we're a game studio now, but in a way of showing students, look, here's the kind of thing we can make. We'd love to teach you, right? You want to play it? Go over here and play it. We've done that on Itch a few times, but Itch is used by very specific niche of developers and gamers, right? It's not a mass distribution thing. There are a lot of downsides to this. 1, you have to pay for the Steam Workshop key or license.
Yeah.
2, I've never used the Steam API in Godot or anywhere else. 3, we are not great at marketing, and if you don't market on Steam, no one sees your game. 4, that's a lot of time we'd have to devote to get something up to professional game standard as opposed to professional course standard, right? In professional course standard, what you have to do is show the way. These are techniques you can use. Now expand upon them. You have a game. For a game, that's an unfinished game.
Yes, it's a tech demo at best.
Right. And we don't want to do a tech demo. We want to do something exciting and fun. Advantages: people can actually play the game. Nothing stopping us from making a simple version as a course and a complicated version for a game. We would be able to pay for professional assets like sound effects without having to get CC0 ones.
That is very true. So that's something that often holds us. It doesn't hold us back. That's the wrong terminology to use when it comes to courses. But we just have to be hyper aware of the fact that when it comes to things like sound effects, we often need to signpost places and say, get them from here, which isn't the best course experience, because it'd be really nice at the beginning of a section or even at the beginning of a course to download all of the assets that you need for that section or for the whole course.
I mean, over the last few courses, I've gotten into the habit of just making the sound effects.
Yeah.
Like in Toucan, when the teleport sound is just my wrist rest on my keyboard and my nails. Like that was the sound.
Welcome to Foley.
Yeah, just do basic Foley. That's great, but I don't really want to blow things up in the village I live in and record it because there's a police station nearby.
Oh, well, that was one of the great things with both the ARDA course and the LMMS course. I could use stuff that I've made myself, which is really really useful.
Roderick is nice. I did make my own sound effects in Discovering Godot.
Oh no! It's amazing, isn't it?
That was a legit sound effect.
You read what is written, and you instantly, you know what it refers to.
I mean, I like the idea of us building a game too.
It's the time.
It's a big investment,
yeah.
Right? And we're at a stage right now where we need to be really careful with how we invest time, because we try and price things in a way that's fair and equitable as opposed to a way that we can afford, like fancy sports cars. Which means if I say, okay, I'm just going to work on this game for the next year, that's a problem.
And games do genuinely take more time than you might think, especially when you start play testing them and you find all manner of bugs. That's the thing.
Now, that's not a no. It's just something we have to know.
Yeah.
Because it's things like, okay, I want power-ups. Now I have to design what they look like. Are these sprite 3Ds?
And that can add a week on, just going through that process and iterating over a few designs.
Just to make the decision can take days.
Yeah.
Like, I need to look at these various factors and decide.
Yeah, Jelly, you're quite right. Hey,
Jelly.
Yeah, working on one from a couple of years ago.
Most really successful indie games take,
10 years?
9 years for...
you think it's Stardew?
Yeah, Stardew Valley. Like, that's not unusual. There's also things like, if I make it a game, do I do it in Godot 3 or 4?
Yeah.
Because Godot 4 has much better visual techniques we can use. Like, we can have levels with low-lying fog and volumetric fog and collision particles and all the rest of it. But Godot 4 isn't stable yet. It's a really bad idea to use in production.
And of course, I will always be the first to admit a game is best if it is a true game, and then you put the glitz and glamour on top. But glitz and glamour can sell a game.
I mean, game juice, right? All the little things that make the game just sort of pop.
Yeah, the sounds, the particle
make
effects.
The thing feel polished. Like once you got the core game, on top of that, we'd need to make sure that if we're making this a game, it can't feel like a crappy clone of a 1993 Nintendo game.
No,
like you can't
trademark
a game mechanic, so that's fine. And all of the assets are made by currently me, so that's fine. But you could just go play Super Bomberman R online right now for free. Like I don't know what the monetization is for the premium version, but you could. So why would you play this? Like, what do we add to it? There's things we could do with the aesthetics. My nose is itchy. With the music, we could do different modes and stuff like that.
Yeah, we discussed loads of different game mechanics that this could be the genesis for. So it could very easily start off as a Bomberman-esque clone, and then move from there. I'm going to move off camera for a few minutes.
I think you should. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, Rosrick, is when you... How do you define that you're a beginner still, right? Roderick's, for those of you watching later, back in 2018, I started a quick, simple project to learn the Godot basics. I'm about halfway there now. Like, when do the basics end? Like, it's a personal thing. It's like fluency in a language, right? When do you consider yourself fluent? Although the best answer to that I heard was when I was teaching myself Japanese many, many years ago. And my Japanese teacher was like, when you learn that Inu means dog, you are now fluent in that word. It's not about being fluent in a language. It's about being fluent in this bit of it.
That would make sense, yeah.
So, yeah, if we want to make this a game, there's a whole lot of, like, struggling we're going to have to do and all the rest of it. And, part of it's like, well, if we're going to do that, maybe we run it on Kickstarter. But we haven't yet finished the previous Kickstarter. And while I am sure that there are those amongst you who be like, that's fine, back it anyway, it's not a great look to be a quarter of a way through delivering a Kickstarter and immediately start the next one.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's just not a good habit to get into. And if we keep doing that, we never finish anything.
And we do want to make sure we do finish everything that we set out to do. Yes, I'm also fluent.
Yes.
So I'm, you might not know, but I'm an avid composer of music. And I have a collection going all the way back to Cakewalk version 2, which I can't open anymore. So fortunately, Sonar can still open those files. I mean, digital loss through not being able to load up the program that used to exist 20 years ago. But that aside, I've got hundreds of ideas that I started. And of those, well, I say hundreds, is probably thousands of ideas that I started. But I probably have tens of pieces of music that I've actually finished. So it's not a bad thing to leave a project behind. If it was a test case, you were trying out a game mechanic, you got so far with it, and you abandoned it for like, there's something new and exciting. But also there's the downside of if you're always starting up something new and exciting, you're never going to complete something. Which would suck.
Yeah, I mean, it's tricky. Like, there's always the excitement of starting a new project. Do you want to show off the bomb we made?
Fluent and multilingual. Yes, I can start a game in Unreal. I can start a game in Godot.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to show off the bomb I made.
No, you're not. It's just a black screen. We're in the void, yeah?
I haven't done it yet.
Do it. Press it. Press it. Hey.
Okay, so the collision shape is just a cube because that's all we need. And as you can see, I worked very hard in a modeling program. I didn't work in the modeling program. I made a sphere with a toon shader on it.
And a cylinder.
I made a cylinder with a toon shader on it. I made another cylinder with a toon shader on it. I put particles and omnilight, and then
you move.
Q3. Yeah. So the reason I've got it structured like this is all I have to do is animate the position of the fuse, the translation of the fuse. And then on the very last frame, I'm going to switch off emitting, switch off light energy, and call explode. Explode calls the group players bomb exploded player, so the player knows, oh, I can drop another bomb again. Because by default, the character can only place one bomb at a time. But when power-ups start going up, that should be expanded, right? So we need the player to be in charge of that, not the bomb. And then if the signal exploded, which is going to go to the level, and it's going to tell the map, I'd like you to spawn explosions at this position over this distance, and then it removes the bomb, and then the map, which is a grid map, now has to handle that. How does it handle that? Well, first, it takes a position, and it uses world to map to turn it into position. Why? Because we want to snap it onto the grid, right? I don't want a bomb halfway between grid positions. Secondly, I need to find out how far you can go. So one is just where the bomb is. That's pointless. Then I'm going to take the distance we're going, and I'm going to put them in a dictionary, north, east, south, west. Very much like we did when we were using procedural generation in Godot Getaway, right? We're going to pick our directions and just put them in as vectors. But because I'm doing this as a distance, and the distance is a for loop, when it's 1, that's easy. When it's 2, when it's 3, great. So then for spawn point, each of these in spawn points, if it's not being used by the grid map, so don't place it while there's a wall, then I want you to put an instance in. I want you to translate it to where I am plus the direction, and then add it. Then add one where the bomb is, and we're done. So there's actually quite a lot going on there, just so when you place a bomb in 2D or 3D mode, the bomb is in the center there, and the explosions are all on the grid.
It's very interesting, isn't it? How something as, from an external point of view, something as mundane as where to spawn in some sprites or where to emit particles can actually be quite complex and in-depth to go through the logic and work out where that needs to be.
I mean, part of that is when we place the bomb, I have to do this, right? I have to turn the position into grid coordinates using world to map. So it's not global coordinates anymore. It's where are you on the grid? Like what's the cell you're in? And then I have to turn it back into global coordinates. So I'm going to snap you to the nearest center of the grid you're in, or the center of the nearest grid you're in. And then I'm going to turn you back into global coordinates. And then I can do the rest of it. What's fun is I tried putting this in a different function. The function didn't finish calling before the thing was instance. And it was like, no, your translation is null. I was like, fine, not playing with multi-threading. You could just all be one function. It's fine. So yeah, stopping sharing my screen now, Michael.
So that looks absolutely amazing. I'm looking forward to seeing what comes of it. Hopefully something, anything from a mini course all the way up to a full-blown Steam release game. Coming soon. I can
just point out, I made the grid map and the characters yesterday. All of the bomb logic and everything else was today.
Oh, so Steam release by the end of the week? Fine.
Don't. Adam will clip it.
Very true.
But yeah, it's nice to get to the point where I'm thinking, I want the bombs to snap to a grid. Oh, I know how to do that. Click, 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 click. Because I've solved this problem with Toucan. I've solved this problem with something else. Like, here we go.
Yeah, putting those things together is such a pleasant feeling. Just suddenly,
we had a real problem getting this to run on Mikey's machine and getting Spooky Bricks to work on Mikey's machine. And I'm like, is it because I'm using Godot 4 on Linux and exporting? Well, this is Godot 3. What's going on here? And we finally figured it out today.
I have a multi-monitor setup, which by itself isn't a particular issue. But because I don't like my taskbar along the bottom of my main screen, it's on that screen over there is my main screen. So when I'm playing the game, I drag it over and I launch it. No, Godot didn't like that.
Now, that on its own shouldn't be an issue. But specifically, Godot's on Windows on multi-monitor can hang.
It was quite funny. And so I launched the game on there, and then I moved that across to this screen, and it was fine. It's like, okay, there's some I don't know. It might also be to do with Windows 11. I know they've changed the Windows management system in there, so that's always a possibility.
Other issues with a game like this: multiplayer.
Yes, because it's just local multiplayer at the moment. That's its scope.
At the moment, it's not even that. It's one person controlling 4 people.
This is also true.
But like making this local multiplayer is really easy because there's not even any split screen. You just use the trick we've used in Canopy cars and it's done. But Steam API, well, I have to learn how to do multiplayer with that. Online non-Steam API, making a multiplayer game. Like all of a sudden we're having to figure out who's in charge of what. Right?
Still massive. Yeah, you enter this arena of 500 of these boards, all playing live. So, Jelly there. Suddenly glad I stayed with Windows 10 again. Actually, the Windows management in Windows 11 has saved me from throwing my computer out the window. Windows 10 couldn't do some of the stuff that I currently do, so I'm actually quite glad I upgraded in the end.
Yep.
But yeah, it's one of those things. If you move operating systems, you will have problems. You might not know about it for months, though.
I mean, as demonstrated from me still finding stuff out from moving to Linux.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. This could be a course. This could be a module in Godot 4. This could be a mini course in Godot 3.
Yeah.
This could be a game. We don't yet know what the right answer is because
reasons.
I mean, if you guys have thoughts, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that we're running this as a vote, but would love to hear your opinions. Again, it could just be an itch.io thing, but that market is not the same.
No, it definitely isn't. Just by virtue of what it is.
Yeah, and there's all kinds of updates, not updates, power ups and power downs. And if you're doing a game, you need to do some customization in there, some unlocks. Do you do Steam achievements? Personally, I hate achievements. Like, I just hate them. But there are some people who think if it doesn't have achievements, it's not a game.
I suppose I've got a good take on achievements. It's when I've done something, it suddenly unlocked the ability to do something else. But if you have a look at achievements that you could get, it can give you an idea, a hint of how you might play the game or what you can even do in a game.
I think the best achievements come from the Stanley Parable, where I actually unlocked one, the last one last year. There was one saying, "Go outside. Do not open this game for 5 years."
Perfect. And that's a very difficult
one. I actually waited 5 years and then ran the game again. It was great. Yes, it needs to be at least a couch game. That bit's easy enough. If it's going to be a game, it needs online multiplayer. Like it just does.
It's always a balance. So there are a couple of different online multiplayer varieties. So I know that Steam has something, I believe it's called local play, where you can join someone else on their game, but remotely, which is obviously absolutely fantastic. Because I know very few people that have 4 controllers, let alone 4 controllers for their PC. So that's one thing. But there's also multiplayer as in just multiple people and them running a server. And there's also the question of, is this ever going to be a single player game where there's AI controllers?
I mean,
that's further
traditionally, Bomberman is a game where you could play solo or 2 people or 3 people, and the remainder of the characters are taken over by AI. Designing the AI would be
challenging.
I speedrun the no play achievement. Yeah, no, I've got that one. I mean, Mikey's the king of that one.
Well, I was subscribed to Humble Bundle for years where I wasn't playing games, so I got somewhere between 5 and 12 games every month for
I
like
subscribed
3
for
years.
A month, 2 months, and I think I played one of the games off that.
I definitely got my money's worth in the long run out of it, but yeah, I decided in the end to go. I'm not playing these games. So let's not entertain it. And then they started bringing out games that I'd already had and that sort of thing, and I was like, well, shivvy them off on Steam or to friends and stuff. But
incidentally, if you're wondering, the quote on the thumbnail for this video, "Tactics are not a breath mint," is something I yelled at a friend of mine during an MMO raid where he just Leroy Jensen repeatedly. But it also came about because my girlfriend pointed out that the characters in this game at the moment look like battle Tic Tacs. So I just said they were called tactics.
Yep, that works for me.
Yeah.
So for those who weren't here at the beginning of the stream, if we want to recap over what the streams are going to be like moving forward, because we've made a decision to mix them up a little and get them and do a few different varieties of stream over a 4-week rolling period. So every 4th week, or week 1 of this 4, will be us like this talking about what we've been up to, and there'll be a little bit of that, I'm sure, in almost every stream. Toucan,
Tookie talk,
Tookie talk, Canopy chat. And then either so next week we're going to have a Godot live stream. So Jan's going to be coding live and just really getting into the gubbins of what,
showing you what's happening, answering questions.
I will be doing the same in Blender the next week. So in week 3 from now, we will dive into Blender. I think I've got an idea of looking at procedural nodes and just playing around in them and seeing what mistakes we can make, what mistakes we can learn from that. So if you're interested in that, that'd be absolutely fabulous. And if you, of course, for this, for the Blender one or the Godot one, if you have any questions prior to that, if you just send them through, and then we can chat about them on there as well and actually look at them properly. Obviously, when it comes to this, it's quite difficult to suddenly start moving screens around because we're not set up to do that at the moment. So when we're focused on just doing a Blender thing or just doing a Godot thing, we can get everything set up and prepared for that beforehand. And then on week 4, Jan.
On week 4, Mikey, we play a game together. And rather than just play a game and stream it, we play a game and discuss it and analyze it and talk about the game design and the aesthetics and the choices made and other things you could do.
So looking at game mechanics.
Vector maths, no. No vector maths, no. No vector maths. Also, and I just want to be very clear about this, quaternions, no.
I cannot make these guarantees myself.
I don't understand them. I remember one video explaining them and saying, look, very simply, a quaternion is a way of using 4-dimensional mathematics to represent 3-dimensional rotation as one number. I'm like, what? Why is that the simple answer?
There was a great stream by the developers of the Unreal Engine. This must have been nearly 2 years ago now.
I've never done calculus, Roderick.
They were talking about quaternions. And one of the guys sat there, was one of the maths guys for the team, and he literally said that quaternions are great and you can really delve into the maths of them. And then he stepped back and he said, but unless you're writing a game engine to use quaternions or something along those lines, just learn how to use them and move on.
Yeah. That reminds me of that amazing piece of black magic coding in Doom and Doom 2 that uses bit shifting to make the lighting work.
And
it's just, they knew the engine and the maths so well, they just went, oh, there's a loophole here, we should do that.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yes. It's a way of handling 3-dimensional rotations with one figure.
Is that the W?
I don't know.
Why does W have another V on the end?
Because it used to be double V. In fact, in French, it's still double V because U and V were the same letter.
What's triple in French?
Treble.
Treble V.
Which is a Volkswagen.
That was quite sharp for this time of the evening, Jan.
Not bad, right?
Wop, wop.
So yeah, lots of stuff coming up. Lots of work on animation and sprites. Some weird work on tactics. Lots of recording in Blender. Lots of cool experimenting with Godot 4. Will you guys be participating in Godot Jam again? We want to give some courses. I actually haven't heard much about it from Adrian. We've heard he's asked if we'd like to give some courses as prizes. I need to get back to him on that. But I don't know. I hope so. We shall see.
And what was the other thing that I was going to mention? Oh yes, if you weren't here at the beginning of the stream, the other thing that I was mentioning is, and there aren't any promises at the moment, but Jan's seen all the fabulous charts that I've made and everything. But I've started to go through and sort of like chart recording progress and things like that, so I can get a better idea of when things are coming out. What we said at the beginning of the stream is, at the moment, Jan's just waiting for Godot 4 to enter beta before he can start shipping course content. However, I am shipping course content, and to give you guys a better idea of when it's coming out, I've started to track things so I can project release. At the moment, the only thing that I am going to say of when it will likely to come out is the Godot Action RPG Dungeons course I'm anticipating in about a month's time.
Yep.
So somewhere between 4 and 6 weeks from now. And that will give me a better idea around then whether or not my tracking is being accurate. And then I can start to say, yes, this other stuff makes sense, and actually produce a proper timeline for you all, which I think will be fantastic. And also give me something to work alongside, which is also really good. So that's that bit of news. Is there anything else? Because we're coming up to the hour.
We are coming up to the hour. So if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, thoughts, interpretive dances, and jingles, now's a good time.
I'll just sit here and wait.
La 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 la.
Oh, I've missed a bit of the chat. So Jelly saw me going. There might be. Yes, when it comes to using geometry nodes, there is likely to be some sort of vector maths involved. Otherwise, you can't really say use these points.
I wish I'd known when I was 15 that I would end up making my living coding, and that mathematics would help with that.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
because I was right in the middle of the middle stream in my school's maths thing. Streaming is like in the US, you'd be advanced and remedial classes of streams, right? So I was right in the middle of the middle stream, and I was average, and I was like, I'm never going to use vector mathematics. I'm never going to use algebra. I've never learned calculus. It's fine.
It turns out, I wish I'd listened. Yeah, one of the great things that I've come across recently is, because I've been diving quite heavily into mathematics. The kids in the house, so there's 5 of them. Feel sorry for me, please. There are 5 of them, and they're like, "Why are you doing maths?" I'm like, it's actually useful, you know.
It is.
But I didn't, I didn't have anybody around me that I looked up to that used mathematics in a way that was exciting and that was accessible.
When I was first starting working in Godot in 3D, I remember trying to figure out how to change direction and rotate in 3 dimensions in code.
Whee!
Yeah, I mean, this is the issue, right? When I was 15, I was going to be a theater director. My training is in theater. I consider myself a creative person, not a maths person. It wasn't until I was much older that I realized how idiotic that split is, right? You're not a maths person or a creative person. You're a person. You might have more of an inclination towards one or the other, but you're not incompetent in them unless you don't practice them.
Yeah, and I've personally felt that when I look at the pillars of success that I've had, whether that be with music or with art or with maths or with speaking really Welsh, then, well, that sounds a bit Welsh, but those things, by the time you reach your mid-30s or later, you can look back and you're actually standing very high on success. You know, it's taking you a long time to get to those particular things that you're really good at. But then when you start something that's perhaps something you've not even touched since you were at school, that's you're doing stuff, and a lot of it is geared around people in secondary education. And so you feel like that's not your learning environment. And I've definitely struggled with that, because some of the stuff that I've seen presented has been for children. And
I mean, I could go off on a major soapbox here. When I was doing my education degree, I really developed a hatred for this. I mean, when I was at school, it was called Back to Basics. Before that, it was called the 3 R's: reading, writing, arithmetic. And then it became STEM, and then sometimes it's STEAM. I really hate the notion that there are important subjects and unimportant subjects, luxury subjects. No, there aren't. Numeracy is vital. Literacy is vital. Physical health is vital. Knowing how to cook and eat is vital. Knowing how to be creative is vital. Like creatively solving problems is actually a survival skill.
Yeah.
You know, the idea that there's a top tier of mathematics and just under that languages and it's under that humanities and all the way down to the arts is great when you're in the middle of an industrial revolution and you need a bunch of peasants to run factories. But we're not in that stage. You know, we need a much more sort of Renaissance view of education, even though I know the Renaissance wasn't that. But we need a well-rounded thing where you're exposed to everything and everything's important, and then you can make the decisions where you want to go from there.
Yeah, I've been around. I would say the best way of putting it is a toxic environment where art and music gets shoved down as this isn't important, and let's say the coding and mathematics is really important because it wouldn't exist without that. You name one game that you've played that isn't Minesweeper that you haven't adored the soundtrack of. You haven't adored the I mean, films are a great example. You know, artists and creative types and mathematical types all work together to make wonderful things. It's that team of people good at different things that makes something absolutely wonderful.
I used to really hate it when I worked in corporate finance that in a lot of the corporate world, whatever that is, there's such a thing as the creatives, who are like a whole department of like advertisers or copywriters who come in casual clothes and work different hours and aren't expected to understand important things. It's like, let's all dress like that. That's a much better way to dress. Coding is a creative process.
Oh, it totally is.
Performing is a technique. Like, you need all of it.
I mean, I was put off from coding for absolute years because I was told at various points I was no good at it, and that obviously doesn't give you much confidence in the way of actually moving forward and coding. But then when I started to explore it, I was like, screw what they think. I'm a rebel. Good old me, rebel. And I started doing it, and I learnt the fun when it comes to art with it. So a lot of the mathematics that I ended up doing initially, especially with Blender, was in creating materials, in creating procedural materials. And suddenly you are actually using this maths without realizing it's maths because you're connecting things with a noodle in between rather than putting functions together. But suddenly it became apparent what I was doing, and then it just clicked. And then I saw it as an art form. And,
I mean,
and from there, it's just gone from
like elegance in coding. You know, it's a very poetic way of thinking, but it's a thing.
The lines are beautifully blurred. Yeah, absolutely.
Hello, Durgan. Good to see you. So yeah, I think we've gone a little past the hour. So if anyone has any questions, I'm just gonna fire up the
doobly doo
real quick. I mean, it's not actually a game yet, but I'm gonna fire it up anyway.
Oh, so we can lead out with it.
Yep.
Awesome.
Here we go. Oh, I'm gonna use my. Oh, I haven't plugged it in. I'm gonna use the controller.
No.
So what do we think? 2D or 3D view, people?
I like both, you know.
I do too. I feel like it's a good option, or just a mode.
I think as long as you can sit, so place a bomb right at the top in the middle and see if it's still visible in the 3D view. Yeah, so where the red guy is. Yeah, that's. I mean, it is a little hidden, but it's got high contrast with the blocks. So yeah, I think that's fine.
Yeah, that was the plan. I mean, the real question is it visible here?
I think
they
that,
also give. I mean, they have lights on them. Let's.
I was going to say the
take
sparkler
off.
on top helps massively.
Actually, let's just put you at 0.
Ooh, dark. Run! Boom.
The explosions have lights as well.
This is a potential game mode, of course. It's a bit silly at first, but just seeing the other person's outline makes it very challenging.
Well, when you can't see the obstacles as well, unless I give them outlines. Of course, the grids don't have outlines, but yeah.
That's fantastic.
So yeah, that's a thing we're working on right now. So, do we have any more questions? I couldn't see what
I don't think we have any at the moment, no. So I think it's time to thank everybody for joining us this evening.
Thank you for joining us this evening, everyone. All right, folks, come see us on the Discord. Next week, we'll be doing some live Godot coding, exploring, making, whatever we're doing. I haven't decided yet, but it'll be
Jan will be the main star next week, and I'll be sat there in the background manning chat and asking questions.
Yep. And then the week after that, it'll be Mikey doing Blender, and I'll be doing the same thing. And then after that, we'll play something. We don't know what it is yet. Maybe it'll be Barotrauma. Maybe it'll be Among Us. Well, it might not be Among Us.
Is Barotrauma the one where I opened all the doors and the water flooded in?
Barotrauma's the one where I was the engineer and Durgan went and opened the reactor because I was after the sub and it ran out of power. And he went and refilled the reactor and he hadn't read it. So he put all of the uranium into the reactor thinking, well, it won't run out now. And then switched it on and it caught fire. So thanks, Durgan. Maybe Spy Party?
Spy Party is a... will the chat give away where the person is, though?
Well, we just have to not read the chat during games. Or, but yeah, we'll see. We'll figure out where to play. But yeah, thank you for joining us. Thank you for the jelly and the ice cream. I had a lovely time. Play lots of games, make lots of cool stuff, share all your things.
Yeah.
Remember to say Happy Mother's Day if you're in the States and it's Mother's Day and you speak to your mother and she's around and you want to say so. Otherwise, don't.
Wasn't that yesterday? So in 364 days, remember that.
Well, no, just say it now and say there was a time zone.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
Bye! Press it.
Press it.